Lesson 4. The Age of Charlemagne. It matters because, although Christianity was becoming the dominant religion in Europe during the early Middle Ages, Germanic tribes became the dominant political force. Ultimately, a new empire emerged that was linked to the idea of a lasting Roman Empire. The new Germanic kingdoms. Guiding questions. How did the Germanic kingdoms influence the transformation of the Roman world? What was the significance of Clovis's conversion to Christianity? The Germanic peoples had begun to move into the lands of the Roman Empire by the 3rd century. The Visigoths occupied Spain and Italy until the Ostrogoths, another Germanic tribe, took control of Italy in the 5th century. By 500, the Western Roman Empire had been replaced by a number of states ruled by German kings. The merging of Romans and Germans took different forms in the various Germanic kingdoms. Both the kingdom of the Ostrogoths in Italy and the kingdom of the Visigoths in Spain retained the Roman structure of government. However, a group of Germanic warriors came to dominate the considerably larger native populations and eventually excluded Romans from holding power. Roman influence was even weaker in Britain. When the Roman armies abandoned Britain at the beginning of the 5th century, the Angles and Saxons, Germanic tribes from Denmark and northern Germany, moved in and settled there. Eventually, these peoples became the Anglo-Saxons. The Kingdom of the Franks. Only one of the German states proved long-lasting, the Kingdom of the Franks. The Frankish kingdom was established by Clovis, a strong military leader who around AD 500 became the first Germanic ruler to convert to Catholic Christianity. At first, Clovis had refused the pleas of his Christian wife to adopt Christianity as his religion. According to Gregory of Tours, a 6th century historian, Clovis had remarked to his wife, "Your God can do nothing." During a battle with another Germanic tribe, however, Clovis's army faced certain destruction. Clovis was reported to have cried out, "Jesus Christ, if you will give me victory over my enemies, I will believe in you and I will be baptized in your name." After he uttered these words, the enemy began to flee. Clovis soon became a Christian. Clovis found that his conversion to Christianity won him the support of the Roman Catholic Church, as the Christian Church in Rome was now known. Not surprisingly, the Catholic Church was eager to gain the friendship of a major ruler in the Germanic states. By 510, Clovis had established a powerful new Frankish kingdom that stretched from the Pyrenees in the southwest to German lands, modern-day France and western Germany. He defeated the many Germanic tribes surrounding him and unified the Franks as a people. After Clovis's death, his sons followed Frankish custom and divided his newly created kingdom among themselves. The once united Frankish kingdom came to be divided into 3 major areas. Germanic society. Over time, Germans and Romans intermarried and began to create a new society. As they did, some of the social customs of the Germanic people came to play an important role. The crucial social bond among the Germanic peoples was the family, especially the extended family of husbands, wives, children, brothers, sisters, cousins, and grandparents. The German family structure was quite simple. Males were dominant and made all the important decisions. A woman obeyed her father until she married and then fell under the legal domination of her husband. This extended family worked the land together and passed it down to future generations. The family also provided protection, which was much needed in the violent atmosphere of the time. The German concept of family affected the way Germanic law treated the problem of crime and punishment. In the Roman system, as in the United States legal system, a crime such as murder was considered an offense against society or the state. Thus, a court would hear evidence and arrive at a decision. Germanic law, on the other hand, was personal. An injury by one person against another could mean a blood feud, and the feud could lead to savage acts of revenge. To avoid bloodshed, a new system developed, based on a fine called Wergild. Wargild was the amount paid by a wrongdoer to the family of the person he or she had injured or killed. Wargild, which means money for a man, was the value of a person in money. The value varied according to social status. An offense against a member of the nobility, for example, cost considerably more than an offense against an ordinary person or a slave. Germanic laws were now established by custom, not at the whim of a king or codified like Roman law. One means of determining guilt in Germanic law was the ordeal. The ordeal was based on the idea of divine intervention. All ordeals involved a physical trial of some sort, such as holding a red-hot iron. It was believed that divine forces would not allow an innocent person to be harmed. If the accused person was unharmed after a physical trial or ordeal, he or she was presumed innocent. Progress check. The Carolingian Empire. Guiding question. What impact did Charlemagne have on the Frankish kingdom? During the 600s and 700s, the Frankish kings had gradually lost their power to the mayors of the palace, chief officers of the king's household. One of them, Pepin, finally took the logical step of assuming the kingship for himself and his family. Pepin was the son of Charles Martel, the leader who defeated the Muslims at the Battle of Tours in 732. Upon Pepin's death in 768, his son became the new Frankish king. This powerful ruler is known to history as Charles the Great, or Charlemagne. He was a determined and decisive man who was highly intelligent and curious. Charlemagne was a fierce warrior, a strong statesman, and a pious Christian. Although possibly unable to read or write, he was a wise patron, supporter of learning. During his long rule from 768 to 814, Charlemagne greatly expanded the Frankish kingdom and created what came to be known as the Carolingian Empire. At its height, this empire covered much of Western and Central Europe. Not until Napoleon Bonaparte's time in the 1800s would an empire its size be seen again in Europe. The administration of the empire depended both on Charlemagne's household staff and on counts, German nobles, who acted as the king's chief local representatives. In order to limit the court's powers, Charlemagne set up the Missi Dominici, messengers of the Lord King, two men sent out to local districts to ensure that the counts carried out the king's wishes. Charlemagne as Roman Emperor. As Charlemagne's power grew, so did his prestige as the most powerful Christian ruler. One monk even described Charlemagne's empire as the kingdom of Europe. In 800, Charlemagne acquired a new title, Emperor of the Romans. Charlemagne's coronation as Roman Emperor showed the strength of the idea of an enduring Roman Empire. After all, his coronation took place 300 years after the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. The coronation also symbolized the joining of Roman, Christian, and Germanic elements. A Germanic king had been crowned Emperor of the Romans by the Pope, the spiritual leader of Western Christendom. Charlemagne had created an empire that stretched from the North Sea in the north to Italy in the south, and from France in Western Europe to Vienna in Central Europe. This empire differed significantly from the Roman Empire, which encompassed much of the Mediterranean world. A new civilization had emerged. Should not Charlemagne be seen, as one author has argued, as the father of Europe? Carolingian Renaissance. Charlemagne had a strong desire to promote learning in his kingdom. This desire stemmed from his own intellectual curiosity and from the need to educate Catholic clergy and government officials. His efforts led to an intellectual revival sometimes called the Carolingian Renaissance, or rebirth. This revival involved renewed interest in Latin culture and classical works, the works of the Greeks and Romans. The monasteries in the Carolingian Empire, many of which had been founded by Irish and English missionaries, played a central role in this cultural renewal. As we have seen, monks in the writing rooms copied the Bible and the works of classical Latin authors. Their work was a crucial factor in the preservation of the ancient legacy. About 8,000 manuscripts survive from Carolingian times.